Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports, we cover the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, quite possibly the most overpaid athlete in sports, and the most talked about player that isn't on the court in the NBA. But this week, our friend Kurt couldn't be here, and our camera people seem to be having a little trouble coping with the size difference of his replacement.
I guess they'll get things figured out eventually, but we've got all that and more, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to One-on-One Sports. I'm Joe DiRienzo.
And for Kurt Leston, I'm Greg Brzozowski. We've got a great show for you today, so let's kick things off with the starting five.
What do Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and Kobe Bryant all have in common? They had some of the best seasons of their careers and still fell short in this year's MVP race to LeBron James, who won for the fourth time in the last 5 years. Greg, what makes LeBron the most valuable player in this league?
LeBron can do everything, Joe, and I mean literally everything.
Which is a lot, but he can do all of it.
Yes, guard the point guard, sure. Guard the center, why not? He did it against Joakim Noah last night. He can go and drive to the lane better than anybody, arguably in basketball history. It's unbelievable.
LeBron looked at the table. Kevin Durant and all these guys, they brought stuff to the table. They all have one thing. And he looked at it and he's like, okay, I'll do all of that.
Yeah.
And I'll get better at anything that I'm not good at. I'll get better at three-point shooting and my post game. And oh, by the way, shoot 55%. Just do everything.
It's incredible what he brings to that Heat roster. They look at what he needs to do that night. Oh, I got to get the ball to my other guys tonight. Pass.
Yeah.
I'll have like a record high assist. Oh, I got to score. I'll attack the basket and no one can stop me.
Yeah, that's the best part. He got good at all of the ways he can score and then decided to pass more.
No one. He should have been unanimous.
It should have been unanimous.
Absolutely. Speaking of valuable players, the Chicago Bulls have been missing theirs all year long. Derrick Rose has yet to play a single game this season after tearing his ACL last playoffs. But his team in the conference semifinals now against LeBron's Heat, many think it's the time that he should come back to the lineup. But D. Rose's return looks less and less likely every day. Joe, why isn't he coming back?
It's got to be all in his head. Or they're not telling us how serious this injury actually is. Because if he doesn't look at that game...
And he's been medically cleared.
Right, he's been medically cleared, but we don't know everything that goes on behind the scenes. But if he doesn't look at this game, see his team, everybody's half hurt, banged up and everything, not at 100%, and they still went into Miami and beat the Heat. If he doesn't see that performance and how much heart his team's putting into it, and he doesn't lace his shoes up for the next game, I don't know what's wrong with him.
You know what? I think you're right. It's in his head a little bit because I don't know if he trusts himself, Joe. I don't think he trusts that knee to be where it needs to be. And, he is an athletic freak. He's an athletic freak, and he does so much, so violently aggressive that's why it's understandable he could have torn his ACL.
And the problem is he's never going to know if it's 100% until he gets in a game because he plays, like you said, aggressively.
It's not time to do it in the playoffs, especially against the Heat, because while that game would impress,
show your team that you've got what you need.
He doesn't need to show them anything. They can focus next year.
Yes, he does, because they're in the playoffs, Greg.
I don't know.
Orb took home the grand prize of the 139th running of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs last Saturday, winning the first leg of the coveted Triple Crown of thoroughbred racing. Since Affirmed last won the Triple Crown in 1978, 12 horses have won the first two races. But Greg, can Orb win all three?
Well, it's been the longest drought since anyone has ever won the Kentucky Derby. And since the Triple Crown, excuse me. It's been a huge amount of time, and it's going to last another year. Because Orb is not going to win the Triple Crown, because you want to know why? These horses are nimble, Joe. They can't hold up to this stretch of running 3 races within months of each other because of the way they're bred nowadays.
You know, here's the thing. I would agree with you if it wasn't Orb. Orb showed he has closing speed in these shorter races. He's trained at the Belmont Stakes, so he's ready for that third, longer race at a mile and a half. He was 17th before the last half mile of the race to Kentucky. And he came in first.
Look, all I know is I've seen horses that show absolute dominance. A Fleet Alex, Big Brown, being unable to come together to win 3 races in a row. I don't know if it could happen anymore.
It's a long shot. But the horse has the lineage and he has the talent, I think, to do it.
We'll see if he can, for sure. Before Floyd Mayweather's unanimous victory over Robert Guerrero last Saturday in Vegas, he had already won. Big time. The highest paid athlete of 2012, properly nicknamed Money, signed a pre-fight contract that paid out a sum of, get this, $32 million just for Floyd to get into the ring. Can I get some of that just for coming to the desk or something? I want it. It tied the record for the highest paid athlete for a single fight when he lost, when he beat Miguel Cotto last year. Now, Joe, is any athlete in all of sports worth that kind of money?
$32
$32 million. And
dollars.
that's not counting the 90% that he got from the event. He made 90% of the profits.
There are so many athletes that don't get multi-year contracts that are worth that. No, he's not worth $32 million for one night of work. How am I wrong? How is this not boxing putting all of their eggs in one basket?
Talking about boxing, Joe.
Exactly, we're talking about boxing.
A dying sport. A sport where its other star, Manny Pacquiao, has now lost his last 2 fights to
Maybe
Tim Bradley
a dying sport
and to
because
Marquez.
they rely on one guy. They give him all of their money, apparently.
All the money.
And he's supposed to carry the entire sport.
Joe, he's charismatic. He's the guy who gets the people like Diddy ringside, the ones
One
who
night
want
a
to
year.
care. You know what? He's fighting again. He's got 5 more fights left. Plus, it gives some shine to the younger guys to get their foot into the ring and try and build up their star level.
All I'm saying is boxing needs to change something if they want to get back in the spotlight. A little more than that. The Winter Classic in the NHL is the league's signature event, thanks to the unique circumstances that come with it. But the league is looking to expand outdoor games with the Coors Light NHL Stadium Series next March. The Blackhawks and Penguins will square off in Soldier Field, and the Kings and Ducks will face off at Dodger Stadium. Greg, is this a smart move, or is this watering down the uniqueness of the Winter Classic?
Joe, as someone who doesn't really follow hockey or pay attention to it, genius.
Genius?
Give me more of these because I will
Why?
actually watch. This is great for the casual fan like myself. I watch playoff games, I watch Stanley Cup, but this is an incentive because it's new, it's weird, it's different. We're playing a hockey game outdoor in LA.
It's still hockey, Greg. But here's the thing. We want to watch the Winter Classic because of how unique and interesting and different it is. If you just keep adding more and more games, who knows how many they're going to add? They're going to do half the season outside, and then it's going to be boring, and no one's going to care about
That's
hockey
too much.
all over again.
That's too much. I'll agree with you on that. But the Winter Classic is still the signature event. No, because Gary Bettman is not really good at his job.
Now this is the second signature event. It's just too much for me.
No, it's great. Keep going in NHL. Well, that's all the time that we have because we have to take our first break. But when we return, our NBA experts and myself are going to go lounging, breaking down the NBA playoff conference semifinals. Stay with us.